Hi, welcome to another Infinity Train video. So in this video we're looking at a Warsenal building known as the Warsenal Studio B building, part of their Alcazaba range. Now this was actually a Gen Con 2016 exclusive, so you can't actually pick this up anymore. I mean, you may be able to pick it up in the secondary market, but they don't sell it themselves. But it is part of their wider Alcazaba range, which is kind of primarily designed for Hacker Slam. So it's kind of like a Middle Eastern desert feel. Now, although you can't get this particular building anymore, they do a variation of it called the Communications Center, which is pretty much a mirror. So basically, rather than this being here, it's out here, and it's kind of like a flipped over one, and they've made a couple of design tweaks to make it a little bit easier to assemble. So it is still worth looking at this one, because obviously, as I say, you can pick up the variant if you want it yourself. Now, you can see by the fact that I'm struggling to actually get this all in on the camera, it's a large building. So if we look just around it, basically you can see there's an awful lot of detail, and it will take you a little bit of time to assemble this one. Now, I'd suggest this one's probably what I would call an intermediate level of difficulty. So you need to take your time, you need to do some dry fitting to make sure you're getting the pieces in the right order. You maybe need to think ahead to how you're going to assemble some of the bits just to get the best optimal fit. Also, it includes some of these very thin acrylic pieces which they slot in into two kind of guides, which allow you to bend the perspex or the acrylic to create a circular effect. Now, Warsenal do this really nicely, and there's a few other MDF manufacturers that have started using this type of material inside their kits to allow people to have bends and curves which typically aren't very easy on MDF kits. Now, unfortunately, it can create problems. I don't know if you look at the radar dish, you can see that I had some problems with the radar dish where it snapped. So you do have to be very careful with these kits. I'm sure if you contact the Warsenal guys, I've seen people who contacted them via Facebook, etc., when they've had problems with their kits, maybe they've lost a piece, etc. And the Warsenal guys keep a spare sort of stash of bits and pieces that go into their occasional sort of bits junk packs that they let people have quite cheaply. So if you do have any problems, contact them, and I'm sure they'll help you out. Now, the other area where they use this thin perspex acrylic material is in the windows, and they do that to really nice effect. So obviously, all sort of Middle Eastern buildings tend to have these very ornate windows. So what they've basically done here is, rather than just try and replicate that out of MDF, they've got the MDF frame, and then you literally glue the acrylic sort of perspex frame piece, or the detail piece behind. Creates a really nice effect. Once you've got that painted, in the studio scheme, basically generally the building is going to be sandy, and they generally pick out these pieces as a nice wood effect. Now, the building itself comes in various pieces. So obviously, if we take the radar dish off first and spin it around, you can see that one of the pieces here is comes off here. So you've got a ladder piece that goes down to the back stairwell, and then you can lift off the top, and that gives you access to the interior upper floor here. So if you want a model in there, you can put one in there. Now, normally this piece here has a door in it. I didn't leave enough gap for the door to go down in that one, so I've left that one off. It doesn't really hurt that it doesn't have a door in there. Similarly, this piece here can then be lifted off. So if we lift this piece off here, you can see what I mean about these nice acrylic pieces, or the perspex pieces that form the windows. There's also this nice detailing on the thicker MDF pieces that create nice sort of walkways that you can position your models in. And then, as you can see, we've got some detail inside as well. So what we can do now is, if we lift off the next piece, which is this piece here. So again, we're now sort of disassembling the building down to the basics of it. And what you can see here is we have these doors which slide in and out of these little runners. So you can basically either start with them blocked off, or you can start with the doors in place. And again, there's another one around here. So we just pick it up, basically, so that creates a doorway. And you can see here that we're starting to get a lot more space now. And again, I think this one here is also, again, another one of the doorways. So again, you can see there that I've now opened up the front area as well. And because of the way the front area goes, that now leads into a passageway, which leads round to the back. So you've now got a much more open building, so you can position some of your models inside. And obviously, once this bit here is painted, it won't be perspex, but you've got some nice gaps. So you could have some models behind there shooting out. On this particular variant, it comes with a little fuel tank. Again, it's made out of these smaller pieces of perspex and acrylic. But again, the detail overall is really good. The fit quality is good. As I say, you just need to take your time and plan ahead a little bit. Make sure you know exactly where each piece is going. And just be careful with the fit a little bit, because as I understand it, the instructions have been improved for the communication center variant of this. So hopefully you won't have any issues with that at all. Now, as part of this Alcazaba range, there is a wide selection of other buildings which are also available. So we've talked about the communication centre, which is pretty much a mirror of this one. There's another large building called the Caravanserai, which is again a nice large centrepiece building, similar to this size footprint with a slightly different design. And that will show you, that allows you to have maybe this plus that other building as nice centerpieces on your board. There's then what I would call some medium-sized buildings. So there's two in those cases. There's what they call the commercial building, which is again a nice medium-sized building, good amount of detail, some flexibility in cover areas. And then there's also the residential building, which is similar size to the commercial building. And again, is a nice way to flesh out the board, adding in some different buildings. So you may want to add more than one of each of those variants if you wanted to go through a whole board. Now, lastly, there's two small buildings. So the smallest size buildings that they do is they do a residential and a utility building. Actually, I don't think, no, sorry, it's not residential buildings, but they're both classed as utility buildings. So the smallest ones, it's two much smaller buildings, which again you can use to widen up the range of the board. I've yet to see anyone do a full board on this stuff. I think it would look really stunning to have a full Hacker-Slam board made out of this. Maybe mixing in a little bit of Comanche, like a landing pad. Maybe put one of the resin flyers for one of the different manufacturers on there. A nice desert mat underneath if you don't want to actually go with a full MDF board. Maybe get some palm trees, some cactuses, you know, various different types of fauna and stuff like that to build up the board. So hopefully you found this video useful. Again, it's another kit that I'm really impressed with. If you've got any comments, leave them either in the Facebook post that you saw this thread in, or leave them in the YouTube video below. And we'll be going on to look at the Cosmica range in a future video.